call the meeting to order and stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ed Morales. Here. Kenny Vasquez, excused. Jason Gilliana.
Here.
Bill Herring.
Here.
Ralph Neff.
Here.
Andrew Maleta. And let the record reflect Director Mike Jago and attorneys Scott McClure are present as well. You have forms.
I think we need to
Swear
all the members in, so let's do that all at once. So we might as well just all rise. And repeat after me with your right hand up, please. I state your name.
I, Kenny Vasquez,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the Porter County Redevelopment Commission
my duties as a member of the Porter County Redevelopment Commission
to the best of my ability and according to law.
to the best of my ability and according to law.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
So at this time, we need to do the organizational procedure of electing officers. So I will take nominations for president. Anyone?
Mr. Morales, your second president?
What's that?
Would you like to be president?
Sure. Yeah.
I make a motion to elect Ed Morales president.
Okay. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passing.
$20.
Okay, next, let's see here. We need to elect the vice president. Do we have any nominations?
I make a motion to elect Bill Herring as vice president.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Nomination for secretary. Do we have any nominations for secretary?
I make a motion for Ralph Neff for secretary.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, consent agenda, financial report.
The financial report reflects the budget we put together at the end of last year, and any claims against them in the first 3 months of the, at least the first 2 months and 11 days of the year. We took the balances, what we had last year, distributed amongst various categories in that, so I'd be happy to send you what the balance, what the budget really looks like. Most of you were here, you saw that budget when we approved it last December. And then following that, 4 claims paid. MKSK has 2 of them for the comprehensive plan update. For some of you who are here, the RDC is paying the bill for that for the county. And then we have the rental for the storage unit, for the storage, so the Kiwanis grant team can have a place. We're going to talk about that later, but those are the claims that we paid. So the financials is for your information, the claims are for your approval if you want to approve this part of the consent agenda.
Is there any questions on any of these? Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. We have new business. Appointment of the director, assistant director, and attorney.
I would like to offer the following names.
Yes.
For your approval. Be myself, Mike Jago for director, Kurt Knudsen for assistant director, and Scott McClure for attorney.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Professional services agreement.
This is for attorney Scott McClure, Rain Elwood McClure, for a rate of $195 per hour. This is for the calendar year 2026. I'm sorry, I went out of order, that's item 3. Do that first.
Do you have the one here above it, Mike, for the
Yeah.
development economic financial?
We'll go back to it. For the development, and I have Mr. Bowditch here tonight. This is between the RDC and the Development Economic Finance Consulting LLC. Provide us financial services. We find this very useful on our various financial reports we must submit to the state. Plus, when we get into other projects and all that, when we need financial assistance, we recommend approval on that. You will find his rates in the areas and on an as-needed basis. And it's for the calendar year. Dan has served us very well over the years that I've been here at least.
Is there any discussion? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries.
Then to go back where I said the other ones with Rain Elwood McClure. Scott McClure will represent, be the attorney for the board. $195 per hour on an as-needed basis for the year. Recommend approval.
Did you draft this agreement, Scott?
I did.
Any further discussion? Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those signify by saying aye. Motion carries.
And if all you could stay around, the McClure agreement requires all your signatures. The financial consultant requires just the president's.
Next up, you have the RDC field trip update.
Yes. Toward the end of last year, we talked about going on a field trip. One of the members said maybe not go to St. Joe County, but I find St. Joe County quite compelling. I know Ralph went the time we did before, but a lot of you didn't. And this time, I think, compared to when Ralph and I and Attorney McClure went, I think this one would be structured a little different, maybe a little more office time with the staff of the RDC or St. Joseph County as well as the commissioner. I think a lot can be learned from both the elected official side as well as the professional side. And of course, we get some kind of accommodation such as a bus that we can be doing a tour of some of their facilities and sites both on the way in and the way out of the county. I think it would be very advantageous. I've talked to them and they would be glad to have us come. If you go to the second to last page of your agenda packet, I have 4 dates: April 16th, April 20th, April 30th, and May 1st. Those are dates in which the people I've been talking to are available. They can host us and all that. And so what I propose, we meet there at the county building, I arrange for transportation, take us to and from there. Usually we stop somewhere for lunch together while we're out there. It won't take the entire day, but it pretty much consumes it. I think we left here like 9 o'clock and we got back by 2, something like that. plus there's now a time difference, so that works for our advantage. But you don't have to tell me tonight, but maybe by next Monday, or you can email me all the dates that you're available, and I'll try to get it so we get the most feedback.
I can tell you mine right now, the 16th and 20th, I'll be in North Carolina. So the 30th and the 1st are...
Just so happens that's when the attorney's available too, so. So the rest of you can let me know, and I'll reach out to councilmen. Residents as well.
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good any of those days also, whatever works for everybody else.
It looks like it's the 30th and the 1st, unless Commissioner Morales or Councilman Vasquez, I'd like to hear from them. So whenever you get a chance.
I think either of those days would be fine for me as well.
Check with Councilman Vasquez and after the call. So that's the update on that. Tonight, I'm going to turn over the dais to Representative Kiwanis Clone. In your meeting last year, we talked about they lost their facilities they had with the city. They were desperately looking for a home for the good work they do. And it was before my time here, so the RDC did a nice job of helping them defray their costs, and they got a rental unit somewhere on the skirts of town, where they put all their material, they actually do their work prefabbing their ramps, and they do quite a good job for the community. The purpose of that was kind of find out where they're at, and see if they had plans of moving on. They said they were actively looking, but I'll let them address that. But their lease, I believe I was told, I don't have it verified yet, but that's going to due in April. And so I invited them to come here so they could explain to you what their plans are. And maybe, it's obvious they're not going to have anything by the time the lease goes. Maybe we can have a short-term arrangement or go for a whole year. It's totally up to you. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Bowker. He can introduce himself and where they're at.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Jabo. Thanks, gentlemen. My name is John Barker, and myself and Bob Westfall, who is here too, we are two-thirds of the chairs of the Valparaiso Kiwanis Foundation Grant Committee. And I won't belabor everything that I talked about the last time we were here. Just to give you an idea on what our project team has been up to just this week. On Monday, we installed a ramp for a Porter County employee. They needed a ramp, so we did that over our lunchtime. Today, we removed a ramp for a 35-year-old lady on the west side of town who completed her stroke rehab and didn't need the ramp anymore. We immediately then went to the northeast side of Valpo and removed a ramp for a 96-year-old lady who was going into hospice tomorrow. So her children asked us to take the ramp out, and so we accomplished that. And as I pulled into my driveway coming home, I received a phone call from the daughter of a lady owner for a ramp that we installed last August. She passed away, and they want us to come and take their ramp out. As of right now today, we have 89 ramps up in Porter County, all over the county. Total value is about $475,000. And we have in our bank account right now about $19,000, and we are ready to buy parts. We're now getting into our busy season. What the Redevelopment Commission is paying for right now are 4 storage units at the Route 2 and Evans storage facility owned by the Phillips family, across from, I will refer to it as Samuelson's. It hasn't been Samuelson's for a long time, but it's across the street from Samuelson's. And we have 4 storage units in there, and the Phillips family is giving us a 50% discount. And what was approved here about 3 years ago was a $10,000 stipend to cover the monthly rent. And right now, the county offices upstairs are receiving the bills from Phillips storage facility, and you're paying about $256 a month. The units are all on a month-to-month. The agreement that we kind of have with the Phillips family is, as long as we have it, there won't be any rate increase. That's what they told us 3 years ago. There hasn't been a rate increase we know how things can change. So roughly $3,000 a year is what you have been paying for us. And that would expire with the April payments. What we have been working on for a long time is trying to find somebody who would be willing to give us some land so we can put up a building. And we have talked to several pole barn businesses. This is Tough Shed. And we actually have a price quote for them to put, where they would build us what we need for roughly $17,000. And we would pay that. The problem is we don't have any place to put it. We have been, lands that we are hoping to be in Center Township just because of the proximity of everything that we need to put up. But we have not yet had any luck. We have been in negotiations with the city for over a year to see if they would be willing to give us some land either on Axe Avenue where the new men's shelter is. We used to be in the building where the men's shelter is now. And we're not there anymore. We're obviously over at Ace Hardware facilities. We have asked about any available land for the new McGill plant. And they have researched all of the land that is not a brownfield site. And they have basically told us, no, there's no facility, there's no land available and no building available. We need roughly 1,200 to 1,400 square feet at a minimum to store all of our materials. And there's just no place available at the McGill site for that. That's where we had really put all of our eggs in that basket, hoping for that. In the last 90 days, we have had conversations about the possibility of adjoining the PCACS building, which, I'll refer to that as the old Social Security building on Campbell, just south of the tracks. They are responsible for 20-25% of our grant applications. In fact, as Bob was telling me, for the first 15 years we did ramps, they were responsible for almost 100% of our ramp applications. They were all kidney dialysis patients who were using their transportation services. And so we have a built-in dialect with everybody at the PCACS office. And until about an hour ago, we understood that building was actually owned by the county. And thanks to Mr. Jabo here, we found out that it isn't. It's actually owned by the PCACS organization. And I can tell you that tomorrow morning, we're going to start conversations with them to see if they have quite a bit of land around that building, including a pre-poured concrete slab on the north side of the building that would be a good starting point for us. So we're going to try to negotiate with them to see if they would be willing to let us construct a building, and we can work out the legal, we have to pay the attorney something to work out some kind of an arrangement. But as Mr. Jabo pointed out, none of that's going to happen between now and the end of April. So what we would really appreciate from the commissioner would be at least 1 year extension for us to be able to go through all of the permits and all of the information that we would need in order to get that building constructed. Where the understanding would be, if we get into that facility, then we would obviously no longer be sending you invoices. We wouldn't need the support anymore. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about what we do, how we do it. I gave you the full, I still have my PowerPoint presentation here, if anybody is interested.
You're going to have to do shadow puppets.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't work today.
Are you going to be at the pancake breakfast on Saturday?
I'll be serving pancakes from 6:30 to 9:30 on Saturday, so, yes. And Bob probably has tickets. I sold out.
I bought 10 tickets already.
Oh, well, thank you very much. We appreciate your support. We'll certainly be there.
So does your shelter need facilities like bathroom, heat?
We don't have electricity or bathrooms where we are right now. So we are limited to daylight hours, and we have to make arrangements ahead of time for the bathroom facilities. But what we're proposing here is nothing. None of those.
It's just a building.
It's just a building, and we would like to have electricity. The only thing we need electricity for is charging the batteries for our hand tools.
So your
thought about land that the county owns that has been sitting on for many, many years and not doing anything with it, out of the tax roll, and we've made, did this pretty well. I know there's a lot of them out there. Just throw it out there.
I'm happy to have a
There's one that's not.
conversation with anybody.
I mean, I know we just got a list of certain properties, I don't know exactly if there's any in the location you're looking for, but we could look.
We understand that we are, and anybody who's willing to give us the land, we're absolutely willing to listen and do the site review.
We could look into that for sure.
That would be great.
That would be fantastic.
And what did you say you're looking for space-wise again? Was it
12 to 1,400 is our minimum.
Is that building or landscape?
The building. This facility that we have this bid for is 16 by 20.
What's the big part?
We need 2 cars.
And
Setbacks. Do you anticipate, if you're on that property, even if you get your friends at the building that's there now?
Talking to Mike Bill.
Yeah, if you're, the building's already there, I pass it all the time, and I know it's got space around it, but would the city have any objection to something like this?
They'd have to go through their zoning.
yeah, I'd have to, I would talk to Ms. Platt.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that would be so off the wall, or
Yeah.
something that they...
Yeah, we just don't know, I didn't know until an hour ago that they actually owned the facilities. I didn't know who to talk to about it, but, you know, I've been involved in city politics long enough to know that I can pick up the phone and call Vicki and say, hey, here's what we're thinking, can you tell me yes or, what is there a possibility here?
Staff could search the rolls of county, not maybe tax sale properties, but.
Yeah, what we are.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
We'd be happy to do that. They can continue their way talking to the nonprofit that up there, that would be beautiful there, to be honest with you.
This price does not include the pouring of a concrete slab, and we would need to have a 4-inch concrete slab poured around it, so I don't know what that would add to the price. But
And the reason I had them come in, because I knew that the anniversary date's next month, and I think the board should be very proactive on how they manage their money. And maybe just for the record, he mentioned $256, we're actually now paying $276 a month.
I'm sorry, 276.
And that totals $3,312 a year. I think for your consideration, as John said, if you want to extend it for 1 year and allocate $3,312, and if they get it done before then we both walk away from it, but at least give them 12 months to get something in order and in place, if that's what you're assuming, that would be the recommendation.
That would be great. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, I would, the board fine with that? I don't have a problem with that.
Might make that motion.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. So we need to entertain a motion to extend, would that be the rent for the buildings that you want, with an extension of 1 year? What was that amount again, Mike? 3,000?
3,300, let's say 35, no, not to exceed 3,500.
Not to exceed 3,500. So an extension of 1 year for the current facility to rent, not to exceed 3,300? 3,500 around it.
That would be great. Very much appreciated.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
And I'll check on those
Thank you.
properties, see what we have.
That'd be great. I can give you our card.
Yeah, Mike and I can look at that.
You got it? Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Look forward to this.
All right, moving.
Class A 46 meeting schedule?
Yeah, I'll talk to you in the report about a lot of things that are moving, but business-wise, I kind of got the feeling we don't have enough to do every month.
He's got the pancake tickets he's trying to sell.
Like anything.
I've got some. I'll be there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Till things kind of pick up. you know, I don't think we got enough to do every month. And so the very last page in the package, I came up with 3 options. Option one is just meeting every month. It's the second Thursday of every month. Option 2 is meeting every other month, second Thursday of the month. And option 3 is meeting every quarter, second Thursday of the month. And even if you get into option 2 or 3, if we got business because we're actively working on something, we got a short burst, we can always call meetings in the months in between. But I just wanted to get your pulse, what you wanted to do with something like this. On our expectation, we'll talk about this at the end of the meeting. You know, I'd like to see us be a little more proactive, get some projects going. We got some ideas we want to share with you this meeting and in future endeavors. But that's up to you. You want to continue to listen, I'm fine with that. I brought it up mostly for discussion amongst you, especially you more seasoned veterans. I know Commissioner.
Right, so I'm gonna rely on their experience on this, the board's experience, whatever you
I mean, still, we actually list projects going on that, well, obviously, the standard items that we have to do, but, yeah, I mean, if there's nothing to meet on, then we can wait till there is, for the most part. What do you guys feel?
Well, I think you can actually go with option 1 with the idea that it's on all our calendars, but if there's nothing there, do what you've done in the past and just say,
Just do a cancellation.
do a cancellation. It's a lot easier, I think, to schedule and remember if it's the odd month or the even month, or this, that, and the other.
Okay.
I mean, I have no problem having them canceled, but I think you start getting gaps, and then all of a sudden you're gonna have to have a special meeting in between two, because you have something, and then you're back to some kind of an odd schedule.
Okay. And then we don't need a motion that way. I will just cancel them, but be expected we may go 3 months between meetings, you know, quarterly. I think every quarter we got to meet it.
Oh, yeah.
But if we got other action, if not, we'll cancel. That's the way you want to do it, I can manage that.
And are we moving it to 4 now?
It's up to the president.
What's your pleasure on that?
Well, I thought we
Jason?
picked 4:30,
Either
because
one
some
works
people
for
were
me.
having a problem getting here by 4.
Oh, number 4. You want to change the time?
Steve, do you want to keep it
Are
at
there any
4?
conflicts with any other meetings, like on Thursdays for you, or
The reason,
No, Tuesdays.
Tuesdays for council?
the reason we went to 4, I think, is because the meetings used to be on Tuesday, the council sometimes
They
had a
fight
foundation
by-
meeting,
right.
and sometimes they had a budget meeting before that, and that kind of put pressure on you guys.
Yeah. But, once we have gone to Thursdays,
Thursday is pretty much a wide open thing here.
I just thought that some people have a problem getting here by 4. And for me, I was always coming early.
Most meetings are 5:30, the council, the commissioners, the planning commission, DCA, but you can make it whatever you want.
I'm good with either, so whatever.
I'm good with 4, you guys good with 4?
Yeah.
You want to keep it at 4?
That's fine.
I just made a mistake this week.
I just gotta go check my calendar.
Okay. So, meetings will stay monthly, we'll stay at 4 o'clock, and then we'll put cancellation notices if you want to go through this. Fair enough.
Okay, commission member comments. Any comments? I don't have any. Anyone else? Mike, have anything you'd like to say?
I'll be number 5.
All right, let's go to staff report.
Okay. Some of you have been very involved in this, some of you have not. The comprehensive plan, we had a couple events since the last time I updated you. We had the Willow Creek Road, which is a sub-task of the comp plan, looking at the overlay of if that route were to go in. We had a meeting with the public. And then most recently, we had a public workshop. I think, Ralph, you were there, Commissioner was there, where we opened it up to the public, invited them to come in. We had workstations set up around the room with data that we've collected thus far, and we were asking for their impression on that data. We asked them questions on how they feel about certain things. The comp plan, in summary, is really a visioning document with a high altitude It's not meant to get close down to the ground and say, this property right here, we're going to do something. It's more of a general thing for the entire county as well as maybe regional zones in a general fashion. And the goal of it, you know, it's required by Indiana code that the county, every governmental agency, cities, towns, and county have one of these. They have to update them, unfortunately, for somebody to repeat. Ours hasn't been updated since 2001, so really long overdue. So the public workshop, we got a lot of good comments. I would guess we had somewhere between 55 and 60 people in attendance to that activity, which, you know, county is 174,000. You know, I hoped for more. There were really good comments. They're taking that information and they're distilling that with all the information with the other thing. And what I'm proposing, I believe the date is, I'm going to ask to call, I haven't talked to the elected officials yet. But what I'd like to do is pull together a joint work study session of this body since you're paying the bill, but also this will be a useful document for you and your efforts, you know, when we get around to things, as well as the commissioners and the planning commission. So we have all three of those esteemed bodies together that want to come and be a work study session, and the consultant will come in and kind of give you a digest version of what it is, and then get your input, because we've heard from the public, now we want to hear from the people that are going to be using this document as well. And I think we're targeting, I think it's April 13th. Yes, April 13th for targeting. And again, I have not officially approached any of the other boards yet. This is a recent thing I discussed with our consultant just yesterday afternoon. So I think this would be a good joint session for all three of those bodies to get together and just kind of hear where this thing's going. I think a lot of people do the comp plan that sits on the shelf collecting dust. And I think this is your document you use as a defender sometimes too when you make decisions, something says, or when development comes in, whether it's a residential development or a large commercial development, it's embodied in the comp plan. And mind you, the comp plan has many components. What we're doing are the land use and thoroughfare. It also includes the park. If we had non-motorized like bicycle and walking paths, that could be in there. So it's anything in there that has to do with how we define our land and use our land are all components to this complex. And I think it would be a very useful thing. It would be good for our consultants to hear what boards and elected officials have to say. So there'll be more coming on that. So sometime in the second quarter, we're going to meet. What we'll do is sometime in the second quarter, we will complete the thing. The thing will be done in draft form. We'll make presentations in a public meeting. Probably both at the commissioners meeting and the planning commission meeting. Planning commission's got to forward it to the recommendations for final adoption. So that'll come in the second quarter, and hopefully by the end of the second quarter, we'll have an official contract document. You had a question?
On the meeting on the 13th, would be later in the afternoon, is that?
Early evening.
Yeah.
I think that works the best.
So with the comp plan, have they taken into consideration the comprehensive plan that the RDA's developed, which includes areas of Porter County, as well as, you know, they just have their new land development entity for brownfields and things of that nature? I think that might be something that, even from our perspective as a board, to look at. Are there properties like that that we could help target with the RDA's, you know, the regional help in funding? Because that's basically what the whole entity was designed for. Do we have a listing of those type of properties that meet the criteria currently that's what they're looking for? That's why they formed it, in order to get the funds, in order to clean up those properties, right, and to make them viable. So, you know,
There's a couple answers to your question. One, when we get down to properties, comp plan doesn't deal with that. However, the comp plan can say we got to forge these relationships to achieve these goals. Now, what I've done just 2 weeks ago, I sat down with A.J. Bender from the Regional Development Authority, and I sat down and talked with him to kind of forge that relationship to address that and other things in which you just mentioned. Now we're talking specifics down at ground level. And I told him we have the TIF area, and you know, we've been working with the Northwest Indiana Forum over the last few years I've been here 2 years. But we'd like to work with the RDA and the Indiana Economic Development Corporation as an example. We talked about that. If we can maybe have properties that are available, that we can work jointly to make those accessible, maybe get some funding, make sure utilities are there to accomplish the goal, or clean up, as you suggest, to make them return to tax rolls in a useful way. So this conversation with the RDA will continue. Spencer left the Northwest Indiana Forum, but we can continue conversation with the director there as well. And they can open us doors for people like at the IEDC and other organizations and things like that. One of the things I want to go back to the comp plan, and you know, what I've asked a lot of the elected officials and the plan commission members, you know, the comp plan, what do you want to be? The residents have spoken up what they want to see. But you as board members or elected officials such as commissioner or council, whatever, what direction do you want to go? For instance, the information shows that there are more people leaving Fort County for employment than are coming in. So we're kind of quasi-veteran community. People go to Chicago, you go to Lake County, you go wherever to work for good paying jobs. Part of the comp plan we're doing, which wasn't done in most comp plans, but we put an economic development part. Somebody met with Randy Gross, he's the sub-consultant to our consultant. He will also be at this meeting on the 13th. Do we want to, you know, data centers have been talked. I'm not saying I'm in support of data centers, I'm not against data centers, but that's just one type of employment. There are other employment opportunities, and in the comp plan, we can make that decision and choice. What do we want to be? We've got to paint the picture. So do we want to promote jobs as part of, we're doing a pretty good job of being a place to live because obviously people are coming here. But what do we want to do about jobs? That can also be in the comp plan. So I guess I'm kind of going off track what you're saying, but it all kind of ties together. Because if you're going to take land that's brownfield, you're going to take land and get with like the IEDC and all that. I think the goal is that you're creating a job for an industry, so to speak. And I'm not the one to make that decision. It's all you collectively in various boards, you got to make that decision. And I think that's what is important, that on the 13th, we will hear that from you, what direction you guys really want to go.
To your point about more people are going out of Porter County to go to work, I'm not surprised at all. I did it for 20 years. In fact, I went all the way to Illinois. But in that company I was running over there, small cap NASDAQ, 80% of our employees were from Indiana. They started out at about 50-50 when I got there. By the time I retired, it was 80% in Indiana, which isn't a surprise either. But what it sort of makes me think is we don't want to become just a bedroom community and just try to count all the roofs and not have necessarily a good financial tax base. You would think we would want to have the things that draw people here and are, big employers. And data centers wouldn't jump to mind because they tend to be rather low population and specialized. So it would be more factories and distribution.
Clean industry.
Yeah, industry, yeah.
The one with the highest best use.
So, it would be interesting to know if you've already got that statistic, and I don't know how finely and how granular we've got, but it would be interesting to find out just how many people leave our county and where do they go, and Lake County and where do they go. If a lot more going to Illinois, then obviously we want to draw them back here and have the tax base here. And that would sort of speak to how you industrialize or create manufacturing jobs and larger employers.
They've got information on employment. We're getting, and we're no different than anywhere else. It's becoming more and more service job oriented. And that's what we got to decide, because if we want to do it, you don't just sit and wait and they'll come. Sometimes you got to put some effort in, and you as a body area, you need a position to create that happen. Example, we got the South Haven Fifth, and all, after, when did that get started, Scott, what year?
That would have been 5, 6 years ago?
5, 6 years, and it's a 25 or 20 year?
20.
So we're 5, 6 years and a 20-year thing, and the only thing we got to show for it is $14,000 a year because of the Casey's gas station convenience store that went in. And there's hundreds of acres back there, currently it's zoned industrial. One of the issues with that zoning is it's multiple property owners. Now, there's some guys that own 50 acres of land, or maybe a little more, but a lot of them own something less. You know, there's options you can do. You guys can be strategic and maybe go take down and buy some of those properties and then turn around and incentivize them. We're not gonna get into developer, because we're for developers, but you can buy real estate and then through your TIP development agreements and all that, you can make sure the property utilities there attract someone that wants to get in. We can work with the IEDC, we can work with the board, we can work with the RDA and all that kind of stuff, and make those agreements small live, but as long as we're not doing anything, the chances of that property enriching itself is pretty slim. And so those are the kind of ideas I want to foster and work with you guys on this year at least and see if that's something. And there may be other areas we should be looking at too. But I think that's the duty of this board, to kind of look at things like that. But we need a sense of direction. We just don't do it because it will come either. It's got to be a very sound plan.
How much of this is driven, though, not just by, you know, how, the land use, you know, whether you're building subdivisions or strip malls, or whether you're trying to have a balanced economy here?
Good question.
You can be a bedroom community and have no industry, and once you get the population, that, you know, a certain tax base and a certain relevance to it, and of course you're gonna have, you don't want to leave them without food and whatever, so that creates a mall next to it, but pretty soon, you know, the economic base of a whole bunch of subdivisions and strip malls wouldn't seem as powerful as something that would actually employ people.
There's two responses to that statement. One, when you look at communities that are solely bedroom communities, they suffer because they can't give us quite the services that other communities got a better mix of industrial, commercial, and residential development. You gotta have that mix. Second part to that equation is the states through Senate Bill SEA 1 is forcing more reliance on income tax, which is feast and famine and goes with the economy. Whereas property taxes is stable. You can be a bad economy, you still get roughly the same amount of money. Now you're going to rely a portion of that. So we have to be strategic about what we do. Now, granted, people can work in other areas, but they get taxed living here. So what's the net loss for them?
Well, isn't that what MSKS is going to tell us eventually?
The financial consultant will get into that at a higher level, yes. It's not so much the planners, but the...
Well, not the planning, but they have recommendations of what the county is...
He can give us suggestions, but it'll be up to you guys to decide, and the commissioners, and the planning commission, and the RDC. That's why this meeting is so important, because we need your feedback, because we're at a point, we need a sense of direction, especially a topic such as this. Because there's a lot of people, they like it just the way it is.
Sure.
They don't want any more people to come here. Now, you can't put a moratorium on anything, they never work. So what you gotta do is you gotta have smart planning and smart growth to control what happens, and that's what we're trying to do.
But it gets so, you know, it's smart growth, but it also has to do with, as you indicated, you know, the tax base. Because some of these towns, Burns Harbors, you know, nothing but, you know, homes very much, and then they were lucky that they incorporated. You know, but that's what I'm saying. They were lucky they incorporated further with the steel mill, but that, you know, that was just happenstance almost. It wasn't planned per se.
Now, as far as the South Haven tip, it's immaterial it was, but there was a very serious contender on about 58 of the acres. It was just north of the Casey's convenience store gas station fronting 149. they're going to go in there and put a big commercial development. We're really excited by that, but they picked up, the developer was working for a large national chain grocery store, and the grocery store decided that wasn't the place to go, so that kind of died. But I was dying to tell you for all your meetings at the end of last year, it was pretty exciting out there. Because I think the people that started, it's all zoned I-1 and I-2, which is clean industrial around there. This would have changed if they had come in for zoning. But then we could rethink that vision and say, well, we'll put the commercial along the main roads, which it is on 6, do the same thing on 149, and behind it, it could be industrial, or we could go to residential, you know, we have options. So it's little things like that sometimes that really start a project off. But some of the ideas I got on that, just real brief, that this cooking is, they tried it in a year and a half ago, but I'd like to engage a real estate broker that's very familiar with this kind of work we do. And I know they did it before, but I don't think it achieved its goals. But I want to be talking to these owners and ask the pointed question, would you be willing to sell? What's the vision for your property? Can we work together? What kind of cooperation? Those are the questions we should be asking, because it's going to take this concerted effort to make this a success. Because it is broken up. There must be 20 properties, property owners. And some of them probably aren't apt to sell. And then a guy I know bought a property in the northeast corner of 149 and 6. And I met with him and see, he wants to tip you a year after what you got plans. So I just kind of educated him what a tip does and maybe how it could be advanced in him if you want to exercise. But I think that's going to be a hot corner right there at 6 and 149. I really do. All right. Recent legislative bills? Not a lot. There was a lot of activity. Bill 1330, House Bill 1333 had to do with a lot with data centers. That bill did not make the light of day. In summary, what the House proposed is any agricultural land that was rated by the U.S. Department of Agriculture as being non-productive land could automatically, by right, be developed into a data center, a wind farm, a solar farm, whatever. There's no opportunity for public input, public hearing, et cetera, like that. That bill made it out of the House, even within wondering how it would fare in the Senate. They made it to the Senate and didn't even make it out of committee. But they took a little provision out of that bill. The original bill said that if a data center, never being specific, came in, we would get 1% of the relief, their abatement they're getting on their personal property tax. In other words, the sales tax of that equipment. The local unit of government get 1% of that, and 1% of their annual utility bill, or electric bill. That was in that Bill 1333 that they got paid. They took that piece and modified it. I think it's only 1% of the, I could be wrong, but I think it's 1% of the sales tax abatement is now in Bill 12, House Bill 12. House Bill 12 was the last bill to pass. It was a potpourri of things, of pieces of other bills, these put them together. So that's there, but they didn't do anything to, as far as data centers go, they didn't pass anything that made them mandatory that passed with the state for control. And then there was Bill 1001, which the commissioner and I went down to Indianapolis, and we testified in front of the Senate committee. From a planning perspective, I think that bill would have had a lot of unintended consequences. It would have made things worse for us. Amongst other things, it said duplexes and accessory dwelling units, granny ponds, little sub-houses that are apartments separate from the other primary residence, could basically go in any residential zone class, no by right, meaning there's no public hearing. We couldn't stop them from doing it. We had to change our code because the state told us to. And a whole bunch of other provisions. It basically took away local control. But where that comes in for you, in the RDC, is we propose that, zoning is not the main root of the problem of attainable housing. And we didn't go down and outright say we're against the bill. We said, one size doesn't fit all, because the county and the city aren't the same. That if the unintended consequences we point out, a lot of these things would become rental units with asset landlords. But that we understand that attainable housing is something that needs to be addressed. And we acknowledge that, so we weren't against it. We said, if there's other tools, and one of the tools I mentioned, which impacts you, is using the home tip. Now, someone came before you on a home tip on a woods edge. Problem is, you already started the project, and when someone asks a question, if we don't give it to you, then we still continue, and they said yes, well, that kind of shut that down. But that kind of project, according to our comp plan, is the exact project you want to happen, because it preserves our agricultural land, because comp plan says we want residential dense development with other cities and towns. Now, to make that happen, the city or town has got to have the capacity and the willingness to extend the utility, but that comes at a cost. And what I was suggesting, when we get into these things like ADUs and duplexes, we're talking high density. I would like to see them in a high density area, because that's good for the developer, cuts their costs in the long run, to keep them in areas where they're well served. And maybe we use a home tip to encourage that by extending utilities that we think is best in our best interest to do so. And that's where the Redevelopment Commission can come in, because you're the ones that has to start that part. You're a part of that process. It's ultimately the council that has to sign up and we're not right at the end. So that kind of indirectly affects you. I think this tackling the extending of attainable housing, is there a role for the Redevelopment Commission to do smart projects, smart zoning, smart UDO changes where we can encourage that kind of development. That's if the elected officials, if that's the direction they want to go, that direction. But I think, I would recommend that, because it's a smart play, because it satisfies us in other ways too, because I'm sure our comp plan is going to say we want to protect agricultural land, that's our area. So that means go back to, we want to put them here. So I think that's kind of working. So House Bill 1001 did not have all that stuff. The Senate, I think, saw wisdom, and by and large, they gave cities, towns, and counties 2 years. So by January 1st, 2028, they're letting us try to solve the attainable housing issue on our own, which I think is the right way and the fair way to do it. It was kind of what we were recommending in the first place. We didn't say it in those words, but that's what they did. So that took 3-4 weeks of my time writing white papers, reaching out to senators. I know Commissioner Morales was focused on that piece of legislation, plus others affecting township government control, etc. So we spent a lot of time, I think, staff-wise, on being involved with the legislative process, at least understanding where everything is. I don't know if you want to get that.
No, I mean, I think it came to a, kind of what we wanted, at least give us the opportunity to draft something up. The one thing I learned down there is it seems to me that they're not going to sway from the ideas that they have. And what the compromise has been for a lot of bills is, we'll give you time to figure it out if you know what they're figuring out for you. So, I mean, we at least got some agreement on that. Because, you can start putting these things without any guidance or any oversight. You're going to put some of these in rural areas where you don't have infrastructure. And then, you're putting big housing developments up, but you're going to provide septic wells. So we at least have that time to build some type of plan to meet that, that expectation.
And 2 years sounds like a long time, but when you get into zoning and code changes, we will use every bit of that 2 years. So we're starting now.
So did they come to any resolution about the data centers?
No.
Because, I mean, I don't know how many counties and towns, and everybody's, saying not here and all that. The one that I thought was interesting is where they, on the national level, we're talking about, you pay for the infrastructure, and, get such a deal, and then put it on the backs of, all the residential.
No, I don't think there was a lot of, not a lot, but there was a few of the bills that contained some directly or indirectly really engaged in it, but a lot of that didn't make it out. There was some fear that, you know, they would take away local control and issue, but that never really transpired. I was just reading today that the Congress in Washington was talking about addressing that affordable housing. I don't know if that's from a financing point or something, but the federal government's kind of different than this too, and that's going to trickle down on us too.
Another one on the national level is this idea that, you know, there's almost like an industrial version of things where there, you know, corporations are going out and buying the land and taking over what was private land. Do we see any of that kind of stuff going on?
Do we see that?
Yeah. I was kind of surprised, but having seen what happened in places like Las Vegas where, you know, when 08 and 09 happened, you know, they had huge absent houses, and they were flipping them and foreclosing and everything else, and I know a lot of them ended up in the hands of, you know, speculators and the like.
What we're seeing, mostly we've got developers and the ones we deal with, and I'll come back to that. There's one or two of them out there that are national, and ours is national, they do housing of various types. They're doing some projects, they got a single family housing project on 700 North in Porter's got 8 halves. Apple's got one north 40 with Rel, that's subdivision up north of you. So there are these national firms that kind of come in and do all that. They got quite the system, they got it all figured out. Then you got your local people. And what I've been doing over the, I was thinking of this before House Bill 10-1, I've been meeting with attorneys, developer builders of residential, and I'll be meeting with real estate brokers, and I asked them, what keeps you from building attainable housing? It was kind of interesting when these are people that are, you know, they're kind of more modern type people into this thing, because the delivery of housing has changed so much in the last decade or so. And it's just kind of interesting, it's all down to density, smaller lot sizes, the density. The thing I talked about, the homes have helping to extend utilities and all that. Those were all in play. I got my notes and all that meeting with these guys, so. And that applies the same thing to business. If we decide, well, we want to do business, the same theory can be done on that. What makes our land, our place more attractable without being away the farm, so to speak. We always cautious of that. But I think we're in a good position. We're finishing our comp plan. The state legislature came up with this thing we're going to get done in 2 years. We got a subcommittee to the planning commission where we're looking at things in our UDO and some of these things. We're in the planning commission, we'll recommend to the commissioners. We got all those working kind of in the same direction all at the same time. So I think we got a leg up on this thing if we keep working at it, you know. And of course, like I say, indirectly there could be roles for this company too, whether it's housing or commercial and industrial. The other thing I learned, just go back, when I'm hearing mixed-use development residential is also very popular. Where you can have smaller lots with single-family residential, then you have multi-family residential, which could be patio homes, duplexes, whatever you want to call them, and even townhomes. And then the products they're doing are changing, you know. One I saw where they got skinny lots, and this house is built right on the property line, has a 0 setback. And then the guy next to him doesn't have any windows on that side, but he's got a setback. And then they repeat that pattern over, and then the lot doesn't have to be deep, because then they put the porch on the side that faces the house without the windows, so they feel like they have privacy. So they got a lot of little creative ideas. How does that apply to the community? And that's what we're exploring.
Roads, you know, different types of roads.
They started out in townhomes, but on the north side, they went single family, because at that time in 2021, they said townhomes. One person says townhomes are still popular, and another one says no, there's a glut on the market probably.
Yeah.
And you got different levels of townhomes. You got your less inexpensive ones, those are your starter ones. And then you have other ones that are more maintenance-free, because they do all the maintenance for you, they just do your sidewalks, the mobile one, you've got nothing to do as far as maintenance. The last thing, South Haven, I think I just covered that, but you got any questions? And Dan's here if you have any financial questions as well.
Thank you, Mike.
Hello.
Public comment, anyone here that'd like to speak for the board?
Larry?
All good? All right, the next meeting will be April 9th, 4 p.m. Here in this chamber. Meeting adjourned.